Hello everybody and welcome to the Not Applicable Formula 1 channel. I hope that you are well and I hope you are ready for some more race weekend action this weekend in Spain. I'm certainly looking forward to it, and today I want to talk about a little bit of a pickle that I think McLaren might find themselves in as this season progresses. Before I jump into that though, could you hit that subscribe button for me? It would mean the absolute world to me if we could hit 50 subscribers before the race weekend, before Sunday this week. I know it's a big ask, but I would be absolutely elated. And would you have done your little bit to make my day even better? Of course you will. So just hit that button and I would be more than grateful for your support. Also, whilst you're down there, why not hit the like button? Might as well whilst you're there, mightn't you? As I was saying, I want to talk about McLaren and currently their drivers, Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. I think personally, probably one of the better lineups of drivers on the grid that we've seen this season. But I do think that McLaren might find themselves in a little bit of trouble as this season progresses, because we are 3 races in and we have to say Lando Norris has been electric. Lando Norris has been one of the best drivers, if not the best driver on the grid, compared to the car he is in and compared to where he's finishing in comparison to everyone else, including in Imola when he should have started on the front row had it not been for like 6 inches of track. He is being phenomenal this season. But I want to track back a little bit and sort of see where this has stemmed from. So Lando Norris, back in 2019, it was his rookie season. He was there with Carlos Sainz at McLaren, and the two had an excellent bond with each other. And of course, Daniel Ricciardo was still a Renault driver at this point, and he'd just gone to Renault and he was being the main man there. And everyone thought that he was going to be at Renault for the foreseeable future. He was going to sort of see that as his project and take that going forward. And 2019 actually rounded out a little bit like this. So as you can see, Sainz actually came out the best of those drivers. Ricciardo came out in 9th and Norris a lowly 11th, but a pretty good return considering he was only a rookie. Like 49 points over the course of a season, did pretty well. But as you can see, Carlos Sainz, a little bit of guile about him in the McLaren car, just managed to get those extra little points along the way. And please do remember that Lando Norris was very, very new to the sport at this point. Yes, he'd shown a lot of promise, but he was one of the youngest rookies that we're going to see. And he was very, very topsy-turvy that season. He had a lot of growing to do and a lot of things to learn as we were going through that season. And I think incredibly well to finish 11th overall. If you look at the drivers ahead of him, Verstappen, Leclerc, Vettel, Gasly, Albon in the Red Bull Racing, I mean, you would be massively surprised if a rookie managed to finish anywhere above any of these guys comparatively when he was in the McLaren. And then obviously we move into 2020. Carlos Sainz was on fire at the end of 2019, and people thought moving into 2020 it's going to be a little bit more of a battle between him and Norris, but really Carlos Sainz is going to come out on top. But what we actually saw is right at the beginning of the season, Lando Norris was absolutely on fire, and it was Carlos Sainz that was really struggling with the 2020 McLaren car. He just couldn't seem to get it working for him, and he had so many malfunctions, he had engine failures. It was just a really tough season for him moving forward. And in 2020, though, he did manage to turn it around. So again, we sort of saw maybe what was the start of this fruition with Norris at the beginning of the season, but he couldn't hold on to that and couldn't continue that throughout the entire season. And it's actually Ricciardo of the 3 drivers I'm talking about who comes out on top in the Renault. And even though obviously halfway through this season, Carlos Sainz has said that he was going to leave and go to Ferrari, and obviously Ricciardo had said he was going to leave Renault and come into the McLaren, it was the Renault car that actually looked maybe the better of the cars on the grid. The Renault car underneath Ricciardo, as I was saying, it was his baby. It was his thing. He was the main driver there. No one was going to sort of come in and displace him as that main driver, but he decided to take that step. And as I was saying, it was a bit of a weird time to take that step, especially because Lando Norris, as I was saying, in the beginning of 2020 was on fire. Similar to what he was on to, well, I don't know. This season, he's probably a little bit more. Maybe it's just a little bit more pronounced, considering he's obviously got a new teammate. But Lando Norris, remember, started 2020 very similar to how he started 2021. He was much, much higher up the grid compared to Carlos Sainz. He was as high as 4th in the Drivers' Championship, while Carlos Sainz was still lowly in 10th and 11th place as we were moving through the season. And it took a monumental drive from Carlos Sainz, and maybe why he was sort of picked up for Ferrari, that sort of ignition, that understanding of the car, that understanding of Formula One that sort of pushed him over the edge. And again, I think we saw a little bit of insecurity from Norris. We saw, even though he started off the season very well, it tailed off towards the end of the season, and he couldn't quite keep up with Carlos Sainz's pace. And Carlos Sainz ended up obviously getting a lot more points over the back end of the season, picking up lots and lots of 4th, 5th places, 6th places, getting those real key points for the team, and continuing to take McLaren forward and forward and forward, and ending up actually being McLaren 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. And again, I think that's a very pivotal moment. The fact that McLaren were 3rd in the Constructors' Championship overall, something that Daniel Ricciardo had sort of predicted. Yes, Daniel Ricciardo had a very good season in the Renault, obviously getting that podium, which he promised the team he would be able to deliver. And it was at this point that I realised, actually, this season is going to be very, very difficult for these 3 drivers. Carlos Sainz committed very early to the Ferrari move, not really knowing how much pace the McLaren was going to have this year. I think, honestly, the Ferraris and the McLarens this year look very comparable on track. And if Carlos Sainz would have stayed at McLaren, would he, have that knowledge of the car, have that understanding of the powertrain, have that understanding of the team, the ethics, and be performing a little bit better? I think so. So Daniel Ricciardo has come into a very tricky seat where realistically McLaren would have wanted to keep Carlos Sainz. They would have wanted him because he would probably be the one up there with Norris at the moment, fighting with those Ferraris and being very consistent in this very quick McLaren car. If we look at the season so far then, we do indeed have Norris in 3rd place, and I think he more than warrants that 3rd place. By my standards, he has been the 3rd best driver on the grid. I don't think you can argue with that. A 4th place finish, a 3rd place finish, and a 5th place finish. He has got the most out of that McLaren every single weekend. And I know, obviously, the Imola incident, those fine little margins are the things that take you from being a rookie to possibly a contender for the World Championship. And I think that's what we're looking at with Norris at the moment. We're looking at, can he take the step forward with McLaren and be a World Championship driver, a contender for the World Championship, something that McLaren would have wanted Ricciardo to actually come in and do. So at this moment in time, Ricciardo sits in 7th, Norris in 3rd, as you can see that, and Sainz actually sits in 8th. So again, Sainz maybe of those guys finding it the most difficult to really get things connected, really understand. And obviously there is so much more pressure at Ferrari. But linking back to Ricciardo versus Norris, I think McLaren put themselves in a position where they realised Carlos Sainz was going to move on. They realised that Lando Norris, the tail end of the 2020 season maybe showed that he wasn't quite ready to take that step up and be the first choice driver. So they looked across the grid and they saw Daniel Ricciardo at a Renault team that was struggling and didn't really have the pace that maybe he was promised. They gave to him, they say, look, Daniel Ricciardo, we need a driver in our team similar to Carlos Sainz, someone who can be an engineer within the car, someone who knows Formula One in and out. And you got to remember, Daniel Ricciardo has been around for a very, very long time at this point. We're getting towards the peak end of Daniel Ricciardo and possibly his last couple of seasons opportunity for pushing for a title. And I think that's where this becomes really, really interesting. Daniel Ricciardo will want to win a world championship. Of course he will. He's a Formula One driver. That is every Formula One driver's dream. Lando Norris is finally clicking, finally really finding that next gear in this McLaren car. And you've got to think, he has been at McLaren for so long. He is the prodigy of McLaren. In a similar way to Lewis Hamilton coming in so young with the McLaren team, I think Lando Norris, not saying that he's going to mimic Hamilton's career in any way whatsoever. Hamilton being a 7 times, possible 8-time world champion by the end of this season is phenomenal. I don't think will be matched in a very, very long time. But Lando Norris coming in at a very young age into a McLaren setup, being ingrained in McLaren, having teammates that can give him knowledge, can boost his confidence, can continue to upgrade him. And I think we saw when Lando Norris was given those team orders to take over Daniel Ricciardo, a possible mindset switch within the McLaren team, a possible time. I know we saw it with Sainz before, but I think it was slightly different because Sainz was leaving the team. You've got to remember, Daniel Ricciardo has just come into this team as the big player, as the person the team probably wanted to build on over the next couple of years. And now I think that could actually be replaced with Lando Norris. I think if Lando Norris finishes above Daniel Ricciardo this season, Daniel Ricciardo is in a very, very sticky situation. And I think it could be very, very tricky for him to come back from that, especially because Lando Norris has so much more involvement with McLaren and so much more experience with the car at his feet. It's going to be an incredible, incredible season to watch. And actually, I would absolutely love to know your opinion on this McLaren situation. I think I've given all of the detail I can think of right there. It's going to be incredible to watch McLaren this season, not only because they're incredibly quick, and I think they're going to be fighting for that third place in the Constructors again, but also to watch this dynamic between Ricciardo and Norris. Can Ricciardo find the pace in the car that Norris seemingly has at the moment? Can Norris, unlike 2020, continue his form throughout the entire season and not drop off a little bit of a cliff towards the end and let the door open for Daniel Ricciardo? Because at this point, he's so far ahead. And if he can just keep that, it will be something to watch. Let me know in the comments down below. It's one of my favorite things to read a comment and be able to talk to you guys. I answer every single comment. If you think I've missed something, throw a comment down there. I will more than be happy to reply, read through all of the detail. Some of the comments on my previous videos are absolutely incredible. I recommend just going back to my other videos just to read the comments, honestly, because they are incredible and your guys' knowledge of Formula One is exceptional. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I will see you next time. I will see you live next time on Saturday for qualifying. Be there or be square. I've got to click the button.